you've had an amazing season. I think all-star season. Who knows what's going to happen with the team?
Tommy.
Who knows what's going to happen with the team? But like, there's just a lot of noise. Dennis just got traded.
Yeah.
There's a lot of noise. People have all kinds of, Cam's going to be here. Cam's going to be here. There's nothing you can do about that. But there is a sense, and I don't know. I'm actually curious if you ever had to deal with this.
Yeah, I already have a story.
Yeah, but people just being like putting you in other cities, and you're like, yo, I got him. I'm the one who has to move.
Yeah. So we talked about this the other day, and it's just like, for basketball fans, the trade deadline and trading in general is fun, right? It's fun. It's like, oh, where's my play? Are we going to get this player? Are we going to get that player? Where's this player going to go? It's like reality television in real time. From the player's perspective, you realize that like, oh man, like lives are at stake. Dennis, he has his own life. Mm-hmm. He has his own life, and he has to pack that up with him and take it from coast to coast. And it, he's from Germany. It takes him a really, really far way away from home, as opposed to Brooklyn, which was a little closer. So there's a lot of elements at play anytime anybody gets moved. There's a lot that I could say on this topic. There's a ton. And being in the middle of that, I don't know how much I'd say on it right now. Mm-hmm. But if I could just speak generally and taking myself out of the situation, the thing that pushes a lot of success in team sports, from my limited experience, is buy-in and pride in what you're doing. And so the best way to achieve success on a team level is when that buy-in and that pride is at all-time highs, when it's peaking, because that's when the camaraderie, that's when everything starts to flow, the synergy, and you're able to play your best ball as a team. There's a lot that gets in the way of it on a professional level. Mm-hmm. And one of those things can be uncertainty of your future, whether it's yourself getting traded, whether it's your teammates getting traded, anything like that. And just those little shreds of doubt can be very difficult for teams to overcome because, like the margin for error is always really small. Always really small. It's a little bit of lack of communication, a little bit of a lack of trust, and just a tiny bit of disinterested, feelings from any one player out of five, and how good players are at the professional level, you're going to get exposed. Mm-hmm. So a lot of elements at play anytime this comes up. And if you're on a team where, trade speculation is high, you maybe could potentially assume that comes with it. Now, it's not to make excuses about anything, but it's human nature. It's reality.
Yeah. I misunderstood that we were talking about getting traded. I do not have a story.
Sue's no one has ever wanted to trade.
It's just like a totally different thing anyways. But so I thought we were talking about being on a team. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is it safe to say that now that the deadline's approaching and Dennis just got traded, the Brooklyn Nets are even more into a rebuild, essentially?
Yeah.
So I thought we were going the rebuild route of like the difficulties of that.
For sure.
I think we were.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're sort of.
I think they're one and the same.
Two sides of the same thing, because the reality is, like, objectively speaking, like, they've been great. They have a great coach. Everyone has like played their ass off, but there's a vested interest probably for this team to have a worse record this year, so they can get a guy like Hooper.
And to further clarify, and by we've been great, I think it means our team energy. Yeah, like maybe our record could be better, but our team energy and direction was definitely headed in a positive manner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Watching outside looking in, I would totally agree with that. So the WNBA is just the salary structure is just not set up for massive trades to happen mid-season. Yeah. It's just not. Yeah. It's a hard cap. It's you have to fit pieces of a puzzle into it, and it's very difficult to make the money match mid-season. That could change though. Our CBA's up, it's being negotiated, yada, yada. That could change with the influx with the media money. So I don't know what that would be like. I've really never had to deal with it, to be honest. But not because of any other reason, then it's just not set up that way. But the rebuild stuff, I've been a part of a rebuild, and one of the harder parts of that is you're trying, and I think you've already really said it, you're trying to just have a team that is bought in to what this is, which is like the building of the culture, right? The building of what you think you're going to be in 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Right.
That can be hard, but as long as you have that and I feel like when you have that, you're entertaining. The fans can get behind you, but there's always going to come a point where you have to like take the L's literally. And when they start to stack up, it can feel really weird. And it can in the locker room, you can start to feel people be like, well, like I'm getting judged on this.
Yes.
And you're putting the team first. And that's where things can get real murky in a rebuild year.
And to further, add my take onto that is one thing that we're all conscientious of is that our product on a rebuild, for example, that's maybe the team retooling in some way. It could be a death sentence to somebody's career.
Yeah.
So there's maybe a 9th, 10th man on a rebuilding team that never sees another minute in the NBA. It happens all the time. Like those are guys that get cut out of the league. So from a player's perspective, we never want to lay down and lose. It is like, on one hand, losing always sucks. We hate it. We much rather win. Like it sucks. But on the other hand, it's your livelihood on the job on the line. Yeah. Like your job is on the line. So it is not in any player's best interest to just sit there and lose. So it is, like you said, it's hard to come to terms with if you feel like, you're in a situation where winning is not the priority or whatever it may be. It's just like we want to compete at a high level, and it can bother you deeply when you're not.
I'm actually curious about, I don't think I've ever asked you about this. This has nothing to do with you guys this year or the Nets overall. Really more like the process and more like as a player perspective, because it gets like litigated over and over again. But and I feel like this has become a thing with fans for better or for worse. JJ and I talked about it before because he got there right when it was sort of ending. But there's like some teams, it's like they lose 4 games in a row and people are like, we want to lose for 3 years straight. Like we just want to like, not even just like, okay, we're going to rebuild for a year. Like we want to like fully bottom out. But what's really interesting about, what you're saying is the culture is built by having those 8th and 9th and 10th guys. It's not just the stars. And that comes from, take a guy like Josh, is a great example of this. Josh is a superstar in New York because of how he plays. Like Josh is not going to be happy on a losing team. Like he needs to be in a
he's been on teams that weren't the best, and you can tell. Like he didn't. Yeah,
he's like needs to be in a team where
his value is in the winning. Because he makes winning plays. Not, I hate to say it like this, but he's not just going to go out there and drop 30.
Empty. Yeah, he's not empty. He's not empty. Like
he makes winning plays.
He does a lot of winning,
and that needs to be
things.
Valued on a winning team, or that will be valued on a winning team.
Do you think that? Embiid would joke about it a little bit, but do you think that there's any understanding of it from the player perspective, or is it really just more like we just got to get guys in here that know how to win? And you can do both at the same time, but just having a sense of like culture versus long-term prognosis when you're actually in it.
I'm not sure I'm getting what you're saying.
So is there, do you think that if you are like in the middle of the process, knowing what you know now,
like actually in the middle of
the process, and not in the middle of a 1-year rebuild,
so it can go up.
We're in the middle of a thing where we don't want to be good until 2028.
Yeah,
there's as much as you may hate it, there's an understanding of it, or there's like this is stupid because who knows if you're even going to hit your picks.
I'm on. I think most players would say the latter because, it just seems so circumstantial, so like almost whimsical.
Hard to sign up for that.
By
the way, that's like, if we use your example, that's like 3-4 seasons. And depending on a player's age, you're giving away your like best winning years.
Yeah.
Like age plays a role in that. Like I'm not trying to give, I don't know, pick it, like my 25th year to, 28-9. No way.
Yeah.
Like, why would I want to give that?
I mean, I would.
But you don't like you. I guess the answer lies in the middle. You want to put your team in the best position to win, but you want to do it immediately. Like you want, as a player, you want to compete now. I don't want to say we're going to be pretty good in about 2-3 years.
You're the GM. How are you selling that?
Yeah, I don't know. What I was going to say is like a perfect example of this to me is Drew Holiday.
Yeah,
who Philly trades to start the process. They're literally like, this is a guy,
All-star.
Whatever, goes to New Orleans, very undervalued, great career, and then he just becomes the champion. He's the guy that goes to Milwaukee, they win a championship. They put him on Team USA, they win.
It worked out for him.
They send him to Boston, he wins. So you're just being like, don't you think you would want to have a guy like Drew Holiday? Like there's to me, this stuff is habitual like any other job. And there's no logic in being like, we're going to trade the Drews, we're going to trade the Joshes, we're going to trade the people who
make winning
win
go.
Because
that will make another team go.
Yes, because there's no guarantee you'll get that back.
Yeah.
There's not that many.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, there's rare.
I agree. I feel that way. And I feel like, like it doesn't, that those are quality pieces. Like you hit the nail on the head with Drew. Like he goes from being undervalued. He was a one-time All-Star going into championship type teams, but he becomes undervalued until he becomes the ultimate utility player. That's like, you got this guy on your team.
The one you can't win without.
Oh yeah, exactly. And it's just, it's something that it's hard to understand. Like it's hard to understand. I guess timelines play a big role in it. Timelines, and it's hard. It's hard to understand.